legend. He has been spreading the word, I mean, he is. Has been spreading the word on American traditions on both sides of the Atlantic for decades. His songs and stories bring us the latest news from the distant past. Jeff and Peter Constranto founded the Portsmouth Festival in 2000, which is amazing. And we've watched it grow into an essential Portsmouth cultural event. Jeff is also a folklorist and community scholar for the New Hampshire Council on the Arts, and an artist and speaker for the New Hampshire Humanities. And let's welcome Jeff Warner.
People pay attention and listen to my song. It isn't my intention to detain you very long. I came home from sea the other night, and a lady I chanced to meet who invited me to dance with her down on Peter Street. I said, my pretty fair maid, I do not dance so well, and I am bound for Wigan town, where my parents they do dwell. I have been at sea for 7 long years, and I've saved up £50. My parents are expecting me tonight in Wigan town. But she said, if you will go with me, we will surely have a treat. We'll have a drop of brandy and something nice to eat. And at 6 o'clock in the evening, I'd convey you to the train, and you'd be sure to call on me when you're in town again. Well, this lady was persuasive and so nice to old Jack Tar that I agreed to go with her, and so we hired a car. And the neighbors, they all stopped and stared. And I heard one of them say, Jesus, he'll need a jaunting car before he gets away. But when we got inside the house, the whiskey was brought in. And when every man had had his fill, the dance it did begin. And my love and I, we danced a jig to a good old-fashioned tune. And I did a couple of double shuffles all around the room. But when the dancing it was over, and for bed we did prepare. But when I awoke next morning, the truth I will declare, my gold pocket watch and £50, and my lady friend had fled, and left me, Jack, there all alone, stark naked on the bed. Well, I looked all around me, and nothing could I spy but a lady's shift and apron hanging up to dry. And I tore my hair and cursed the drink. Lord, what will I do? Oh, Lord, forgive me. Wigan town, will I ever again see you? But when the daylight was departing and the evening drawing near, I put on that shift and apron and I walked down to the pier. And as I crept on board the ship, I heard some sailor say, Christ, you might have got a better pound than that. Might have lost your ducks before you got away. Oh, is that the new spring fashion, Jack, that you have brought from shore? Where is the shop you bought it, lad, and have they any more? The last time that I talked to you, you said you were homeward bound. Christ, you might have got a better suit than that for £50. Well, I might have got a better suit if I had had the chance. But I met a pretty fair maid who invited me to dance, and I danced my own destruction with a lady who was so neat. But no more will I go dancing, boys, down on Peter Street. A sad story. So is this in its way. Louis Killen, my hero of long ago, I met him in 1967 at Pinewoods Camp, just first coming to America from Newcastle, Tyneside area up northeast England. And we were playing a concertina, and I said, wow, what's that? And this, I think, may be the first song I learned from him. pleasant and delightful on a midsummer's morn, when the green fields and the meadows, they were buried in corn. And the blackbirds and thrushes sang on every green tree, and the larks, they sang melodious at the dawning of the day. And the larks, they sang melodious, and the larks, they sang melodious, and the larks, they sang melodious at the dawning of the day. A sailor and his true love were out walking one day. Said the sailor to his true love, I am bound far away. I am bound for the East Indies, where the loud cannons roar. And I'm going to leave my Nancy, she's the girl that I adore. And I'm going to leave my Nancy, and I'm going to leave my Nancy, and I'm going to leave my Nancy, she's the girl I adore. Said the sailor to his true love, well, I must be on my way, for our topsails they are hoisted and our anchors are weighed. Our big ship, she lies awaiting for the next flowing tide. And if ever I return again, I will make you my bride. And if ever I return again, and if ever I return again, and if ever I return again, I will make you my bride. Then a ring from off her finger she instant drew, saying, take this dearest William, and my heart will go too. And as he stood embracing her, tears from her eyes fell, saying, may I go along with you, oh love, love, farewell. Saying, may I go along with you, saying, may I go along with you, saying, may I go along with you, oh love, love, farewell. What a great song. The banjo and how it got into American life. I'm not actually going to play the banjo yet, but it's so, I'm going to do it. See, but it's just such an amazing topic, because I think when I was growing up, it was still thought that the banjo was a homegrown American instrument, native to us. And of course, it's not. You now understand it comes from an amalgam of many different instruments coming out of West Africa. But we had 10,000 Africans brought to the New World to slavery, and most of them didn't talk the same language. So it was hard for them to convey to each other. But they knew how to cut a gourd in half and scoop it out and dry it and put a skin head on there. And we'll get to that in a minute. But it's the reason it comes to mind is because Dan Emmett was one of the guys who was working on the Ohio River back in the 1830s and 40s, and he just got so interested in black music and banjo playing that he learned, and then he came to New York in 1843 and formed a band called the Virginia Minstrels and started doing some of the songs he thought he heard, and then writing ones that were like it, and that was the beginning of American minstrelsy, which is have a lot to answer for, but also started the first pop music in America. It was a combination of overlying black and white music, which, if you notice, is still going on today. So, Mr. Dan Emmett, we owe him some criticism, and we owe him some thanks.
Was he black or white?
He was very white. Yeah. Very white. That's how he could make it on the stage in New York. because they weren't taking black folks on the stage yet, and they didn't even take black folks until black folks started doing the minstrel songs that the white people were writing and appeared on stage in blackface. But that's a whole other thing. So one of Emmett's songs, you probably know. No, you don't. This is a rare one of his. Big Jim River, he come down and run his backing boat upon the ground. Log come down with a Russian din, stove both ends of his old boat in. It'll never do to give it up so. It'll never do to give it up so. It'll never do to give it up so. Mr. Brown, never do to give it up so. That log gets stove him out in the floor, left his cook shack lying on the floor. Thought it wouldn't do just to give it up, so swam himself ashore on his old banjo. It'll never do to give it up so. It'll never do to give it up so. It'll never do to give it up so. Mr. Brown, never do to give it up so. Looked at the sun, feeling mighty glad. Looked at the banjo, feeling mighty mad. Walked up the hill, slick as glass. Up went his heels and he fell upon the grass. It'll never do to give it up so. It'll never do to give it up so. It'll never do to give it up so. Mr. Brown, never do to give it up so. Never do to give it up so. Mr. Brown jumped up again and he stood upon the ground. Grabbed his boat up high and dry upon the bank, floated down the river with the backing on the plank. It'll never do to give it up so. It'll never do to give it up so. It'll never do to give it up so. Mr. Brown, never do to give it up so. Sorry, that chorus is too hard for you. Brother in the wood pile, barking like a dog. Toad in the mill pond, sitting on a log. Possum up a gum tree, a great big grin. Come and kiss me, girls, 'cause you know it ain't sand. It'll never do to give it up so. It'll never do to give it up so. It'll never do to give it up so. Mr. Brown, never do to give it up so. Yeah, now. On to Stephen Foster, who wrote songs for minstrel stage. He worked for Christie Minstrels, and it's nice to come into some correspondence with him to Christie, asking that he be allowed to write songs that showed a little more sentiment and true feeling about black people, rather than just making fun of them and showing how ignorant they were. In our eyes, he wasn't too successful with that, but still, it's nice to know that's the background. Oh, Louisiana, we're bound to leave this town. Stephen Foster spent his whole life in Pennsylvania and writing about the South. And the only time he was ever there was in 1856. He took a riverboat trip down the Mississippi River on the Glenby Birkin, which was named for a former mayor of New Orleans. Now the Glenby Birkin, she's a mighty fast boat with a mighty fast captain too. And sits all day on the hurricane deck and he keeps his eye on the crew. Well, I can't stay here because I work too hard. I'm bound to leave this town. I'll take my duds and tote them on my back when the Glenby Birkin comes down. Oh, Louisiana, I'm bound to leave this town. I'll take my duds and tote them on my back when the Glenby Birkin comes down. Now the Glenby Birkin has a mighty fine crew, and they sing the boatman a song, and they burn the pitch, pine not to, and they shove the boat along. Well, smoke goes up and the engine roar, and the wheel go round and round. So fare thee well, I'll take a little trip when the Glenby Birkin come down. Oh, Louisiana, I'm bound to leave this town. I'll take my duds and turn them on my back when the Glenby Birkin comes down. I work all night in the wind and storm, and I work all day in the rain, until I find myself on the dock in New Orleans again. They make me work with the hay fields here, they hit my head with a flail. I'm gonna brother work with the sugar and the cane and roll the cotton bale. And it's oh Louisiana, I'm bound to leave this town. I'll take my guns and turn them on my back when the heavy rain comes down. My lady love, she's pretty as pink, I'll meet her on the way. I'll take her back to the sunny old South, and there I'll have her stay. So don't you fret, my pretty little miss, and don't you fret, Miss Brown. I'll take her there for the middle of the week and roll the cotton down. And it's oh Louisiana, I'm leave this town. I'll take my goods and turn them on back when the heavy rain comes down. Oh Louisiana, I'm bound to leave this town. I'll take my goods and turn them on back when the heavy rain comes down. I thought I had this figured as an Ohio song by 1870. I realized it was all over the country, and also thought it was probably, it may have been English from the text. It's kind of, is this an English text or is this an American text? No, a friend of mine in Lincoln, in England, sent me, said, nope, I've got it from the 1860s here. So it's probably an English song. But the thing is, you really can't tell. I've had great correspondence with English musicians talking about music from the Atlantic nation, if you like to call it, because it's stuff that you sort of can't tell anymore whether it was originally an English song or an American song. So many of our songs that were written here went over there, especially in minstrelsy. And of course, all their ballads, so many ballads came over. But this is very popular on both sides, and I found it in all manner of kinds of collections, from the Northeast down to North Carolina. Boys, I say, from the girls, keep away, give them lots of room. When you're with, they'll hit you on the head with the ball headed into the broom. Boys, I say, from the girls, keep away, give them lots of room. For when you're with, they'll hit you on the head with the ball headed into the broom.
Misguided.
Which of them? Misguided. But a real life story that always goes with the song in my head. I was at Mystic Seaport for the festival that they used to have there, Bless Their Hearts, and was there a day early to take in the museum. And I was in that beautiful room they have of figureheads, the ship's figureheads. You see them all around you, carved, so beautiful. And it was a school day, still in June. So a fourth grade had come on a field trip, and they were there. And one of the boys walked in, and he looked up and he said, one of the models says, wow, she's naked. And a fourth grade classmate girl came up to him and said, so, you're in the fourth grade. You should be over that by now. I didn't know it was going to get worse. Now love, it is a funny, funny thing, captures both young and old. Just like a plate of boarding house hash, and any's the man's been sold. Make you feel like a freshwater eel, cause your head to swell. You'll lose your mind, cause love is blind, and empty your pockets as well. Boys, I say, from the girls keep away, give them lots of room. When you're wet, they'll hit you on the head with a bald-headed end of the broom. When a man's in love with a pretty little girl, talk to her gentle as a dove. He'll spend his money and call her honey, and it's all for fun and love. But when his money's all spent and he can't pay the rent, find the old story's true. Pull on the arm's worth too long the leg, and what is he going for to do? Boys, I say, from the girls keep away, give them lots of room. For when you're wet, they'll hit you on the head with a bald-headed end of the broom. With a wife and 16 half-starved kids, you'll find it is no fun. When the butcher comes around to collect his bill with a dog and a double-barreled gun, with a cross-eyed baby on each knee and a wife with a plaster on her nose. Find true love doesn't run so smooth when you gotta wear second-hand clothes. Boys, I say, from the girls keep away, give them lots of room. When you're wet, they'll hit you on the head with a bald-headed end. When married folks got lots of cash, true love runs smooth and strong. But when you got to live on hash, that love don't last very long. Boys, I say, take my advice, don't be in a hurry to wed. You'll think you're in clover till the honeymoon is over, and then you'll wish you were dead. Boys, I say, from the girls keep away, give them lots of room. When you're wet, they'll hit you on the head with a bald-headed end.
I like while my hands are steady, while my eyes are good, better for figure.
I agree. Well, this little guy, I ran into him when I was a kid. I always assumed he was Southern Mountain because that's where they were popular longest. They stayed in oral tradition. But I saw him at Mystic Seaport at the museum there, and also at Sturbridge. And when I got to the UK, he was all over the place. The English call them jig dolls. We tend to call them limberjacks, play on words. But he does a nice little dance. Sorry, I can't get any higher than this. He has a lot of songs that he likes, but he particularly likes an 1839 minstrel song that's known as Lovely Fan, but it comes down to us as Buffalo Gals, Won't You Come Out Tonight and Dance by the Light of the Moon. Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight, come out tonight, come out tonight. Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon. As I was walking down the street, down the street, down the street, pretty little girl I chanced to meet, she was fair to see. Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight, come out tonight, come out tonight. Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon. I'd like to make that gal my wife, gal my wife, gal my wife. We'd be happy all our lives if she were by my side. Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight, come out tonight, come out tonight. Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon. I got a gal, she's long and tall, sleeps in the kitchen with her feet in the hall. She's good looking and that's not all. Tell me, won't you come out tonight? Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight, come out tonight, come out tonight. Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon. I got a gal, got freckles on the face, freckles on the face, freckles on the face. Asked her where she got them, she said every place. Tell me, won't you come out tonight? Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight, come out tonight, come out tonight. Why don't you sing it for him by yourself? 1, 2, 3, hit it.
Buffalo girls, won't you come out tonight? Come out tonight, come out tonight. Buffalo girls, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon?
I danced all night with the rockin' and the roots kept rockin' and the toes kept rockin'. It's not funny, just a little bit shocking. Tell me, won't you come out tonight? Buffalo girls, won't you come out tonight? Come out tonight, come out tonight.
Buffalo girls, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon?
Dance is better than me. Some of you know that my parents got interested, as a young married couple, got interested in old-time American music, really through a mountain man in western North Carolina who made them a mountain dulcimer. And back in those days, in the early 40s, very few people outside of the Appalachian Mountains had ever seen a mountain dulcimer. So Gene Ritchie came out of Viper, Kentucky in 1951 and started playing it. People said, "Oh, what?" They got this song on the Outer Banks of North Carolina from a man named Frank Tillett. And it took me a long time to realize that it's actually an English song. It was one of those American songs that was English. Called "There's Somebody Waiting for Me." Written in 1917 by Harry Lauder, who was well known on the English music hall stage. And he was also something of a war hero. Harry Lauder was for his entertaining of troops in Europe. It's a great song. If you can learn it with me, it'd be great. There's somebody waiting for me in an old cabin down by the sea, with a smile and a wee cup of tea. There is somebody waiting for me. It says, there is somebody waiting for me. There is somebody waiting for me in an old cabin down by the sea, with a smile and a wee cup of tea. There is somebody waiting for me. Once on a time, it was a very long time, a year or it may be 3. I was out of a job and I didn't have a bob, and an old tar said to me, would you like to go and have some fun while you're young and stout and strong? So we sailed away the very next day to a good old shanty song. There is somebody waiting for me in an old cabin down by the sea, with a smile and a wee cup of tea. There is somebody waiting for me. I know a cot in a very sweet spot, and I think of it every day. It's all that I've got, my whole job lot, and it's miles and miles away. There were tears and sighs, fond goodbyes, when the time came round to go. But as I jog along, I sing this song to myself, because I know there is somebody waiting for me in an old cabin down by the sea, with a smile and a wee cup of tea. There is somebody waiting for me. I know a face, and it's a very sweet face, the face of my very best girl. I've seen all sorts in different ports as I sailed around the world. On my last trip east, I'd a rare old feast I would taste still on my tongue. But now I sail west to my very best little girl again and home. There is somebody waiting for me in an old cabin down by the sea, with a smile and a clean cup of tea. There is somebody waiting for me. There is somebody waiting for me in an old cabin down by the sea, with a smile and a clean cup of tea. There is somebody waiting for me. Thank you. Let's do a New Hampshire song. One of the people my folks met back in '41 was a woman named Lena Bourne Fish, F-I-S-H, lived in Jaffrey. And now I get to do a talk for New Hampshire Humanities based largely on her repertoire. In 2 long sessions in 1941 and '43, she gave my parents 150 songs that she knew out of oral tradition, and she didn't read music. She didn't have it read. So she just had it in her head. She had been born in 1879, I think was her birthday, up in the Adirondacks, in the northern Adirondacks, and her father was in the logging trade. So a lot of her songs probably came from loggers. And I know a lot of those songs, they're really wonderful. And then she moved as a teenager to Jaffrey and married the son of the woman she was boarding with, and then had 13 grandchildren. They're all still there. I got to meet her youngest granddaughter and go to her 90th birthday party about 5 years ago.
Jeff, did your parents have a reel-to-reel tape recorder or what?
Boy, there's the story. I have these great pictures that I didn't bring them today, obviously, but no, they started out just trying to remember songs because my father was a good singer. Well, I had no hope really, but hearing these songs, I was 39 and 40 when they first got interested in. Then my father did an experimental TV show in Philadelphia in 1941, and Philco made for them, got interested in what they were doing, and made for them a wind-up disc cutter. So, you just had a handle, so you didn't have to plug it in because most of the places didn't have electricity back when we were going. So you put down an acetate-covered paper disc on the turntable. Put the needle down, and when you sang or spoke into the microphone, it would record the grooves right there. And you wind it up again to set the electricity. And that way, 40 went right through. Well, the war happened and they stopped, and I got born and they stopped. But when they picked it up again after the war, they finally got a tape recorder in 1950. That was one of those big old box ones. Now you could do everything on it. But those little grooves, those discs, were all given to the Library of Congress, where they are, and they were turned into much better sound. And that you can still hear today if we want to go down there or listen for those. Wow, such a story. My folks didn't have enough money to buy a lot of discs. So they, my mother luckily knew shorthand. And so they would do a couple of verses, and then my mother would take all the words down in shorthand, which ends up being very good because our texts are wonderful. Whereas a lot of times professors in southern states would go into the mountains and record all these songs and then come back to the university and give the tapes to graduate students to try to transcribe. Nobody knew the language, knew what they were talking about on those. So this is from Mrs. Fish. On the harbors east or west, there is one port that I love best. Whichever way Wind does blow, I'll steer for the bonny bay of Biscay. Girl I love is awaiting there, with her eyes of blue and the golden hair. Seas were high, fletches were cold, I'll return to the bonny bay of Biscay. Night in my hammock I will sleep, while we sail upon the variety deep. Tempest rage, wild winds blow, I'll dream of the bonny bay of Biscay. Girl I love is awaiting there, with her eyes of blue and the golden hair. Seas were high, fletches were cold, I'll return to the bonny bay of Biscay. One more year I will settle down, with my bride in this free seaboard town. Sweeter and dearer by far I know, than the winds of the bonny bay of Biscay. Girl I love is awaiting there, with her eyes blue and the golden hair. Seas were high, fletches were cold, I'll return to the bonny bay of Biscay. Well, let's do one last one together. John Short was a shanty singer on American ships back in the 1860s and 70s and 80s. He retired to his English native town of Watchet in Somerset. And Cecil Sharp, the folklorist, got a hold of him about 1917, sometime in there, and recorded, wrote down the songs that he was singing. And as such, it's kind of the earliest we have of real shantymen, 19th century American ships, what the tunes were like. And this was one that I loved from this collection. You'll see your part pretty well. Fare you well, we're bound away. Hurrah! Sing fare you well, bound away this very day. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. Up aloft this yard must go. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. Mr. Mink, he told me so. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. Fare you well, we're bound away. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. Bound away this very day. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. I walked out one May morning. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. There I met a lady fair. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. She winked at me, I do declare. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. Black as night, her raven hair. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. We walked along an hour or more. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. Parting grieved our heart full sore. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. All the way and earn your pay. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. All the way till break of day. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. All well we're bound away. Hurrah! Sing fare you well. All the way till we return. Hurrah! Sing fare you well.
I mean, you could have. You could have.
Looking lazy out to sea. There's a Burma girl waiting, and I know she thinks of me. For the mist is in the pine trees, and the sailor bells they say, come you back, British soldier, come you back to Mandalay. Come you back to Mandalay, where the old flotilla lay. You can hear their paddles chugging from Rangoon to Mandalay. On the road to Mandalay, where the flying fishes play, and the dawn comes up like thunder right to town. Well, her petticoat was yellow, and her little cap was green, and they called her Sipiala just the same as the boss queen. And I seen her first a-smoking of a black and white cheroot, and a wasting Christian kisses on a heathen idol's foot. Heathen idol made of mud, what they call the great god Bud. But a lot she thought of idols when I kissed her where she stood. On the road to Mandalay, where the flying fishes play, and the dawn comes up like thunder. When the mist was in the rice fields, and the sun was sinking slow, she'd get her little banjo and she'd sing "Kula-lo-lo," with her arm upon the shoulder and her cheek against the cheek. We'd sit and watch the steamers and the hotties pile and cheek, elephants pile and take, in the sludgy, spludgy creek, where the silence hung so heavy it was half afraid to speak. On the road to Mandalay, where the flying fishes play, and the dawn comes up like thunder and we do it as a serial. I'll do the second half.
So like thousands.